Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon, Radio Cayman Nation, and a very happy wet Thursday to you. Thank you for tuning into your station of the nation, Radio Cayman. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. We will be starting our show today with Open Line, and then later in the show, sitting down with His Excellency the Governor. As always, we do welcome your stories, feedback, and questions, and invite you to join the conversation. Simply dial 1-800-534-8255. That's 1-800-534-TALK or 949-8037. Or you can always WhatsApp us at 925-3261. Be back with more Talk Today following this very brief disclaimer.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Live Communication.
Let your voice be heard.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. We'll be kicking off the start of our show today with Open Line. We do have one caller on the line already. And then later in the show at 1 o'clock, we will be sitting down with His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper, to discuss a number of items on the table. So we'll go to our first caller. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Ray.
Good afternoon. I hear it's Mel from Pirates Week.
Yes, it is. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. We're staying dry now.
Yes.
My socks are wet, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. My heels are wet. Don't know why I chose to wear heels today.
It's better than wearing socks. I'm going to say that right now. Being in the AC with wet socks on, it's got an uncomfortable feeling to it. Not going to lie. It's a bit off-putting.
Sorry.
But it is what it is. It's we know the weather is coming, and which is, I'm assuming, why you're calling, right?
That's right.
So
just wanted to give you guys an update and just to give a more, more details on the changes for the festival, because I know the word is out there that it has been postponed, has not been canceled. We will not allow COVID to cancel us this year, or the weather for that matter.
Or the weather.
So we've moved the Grand Cayman version of the festival to the weekend of the 19th through the 24th. Little Cayman remains the same, and that's this coming weekend, or next coming weekend, the 13th through the 15th. So the Grand Cayman festivities, the only major change we have is the Poppy Show event that was scheduled for Saturday. The 7th. That has now been moved to K-Fest. K-Fest is happening in February of 2021. And that event encompasses the National Song Competition and the District Heritage Ambassador Costume Competition. So this gives potential participants more time to, be a bit more creative, to write more music, to practice their performances, and just more time to get ready for that event.
Sure.
Because we do know that we've had, I think we had about six or seven persons confirmed, and we usually have at least between 12 and 15. So, and I know a lot of that was because they just simply didn't have enough time, and the launch of the festival was a bit late this year, because we weren't even sure if we were going to be able to do one. So we're happy that we have been able to allow them more of an opportunity to get involved with that event, because that's something that's near and dear to the hearts of the Pirate Suite Committee, and we wanted to make sure that we had that event, but we did it right as well.
Sure. Now, I'm sure there's some listeners out there, so I'm going to ask the question for them. Will we eventually see the national competition come back into the Pirate Suite?
Yes.
Okay.
Ideally, we want it. So we'll probably have it twice for next year.
Okay. Fair. That makes sense.
And again, this all depends on, what happens for 2021.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot up in the air right now for this month, and I think everyone's kind of accustomed now to a state of constant uncomfortability.
Yes.
Not really knowing what's going to happen with major events and the weather. But I think many will agree it's the right decision to cancel the events in light of the upcoming weather that we are anticipating for this weekend.
Right.
So as far as the BRAC events that happened, I believe that was last weekend?
Yes. Well, unfortunately, the BRAC did not happen.
Okay. Was that a weather situation as well, or?
It was.
Okay.
It was an event that was scheduled on our calendar, and unfortunately, the organizers did not go through with the event as planned.
Fair enough. Events are difficult to pull off as it is, and hopefully next year we can see the resurgence of the festivities in Cayman Brac as well.
Yes, we're hoping to get a committee in place to get Cayman Brac back on track with the festivities. Okay.
So then November 13th to the 15th, Little Cayman events are still scheduled. Nothing is affecting those.
Absolutely. Everything is the same for Little Cayman.
Okay. Do you want to run our listeners through what the lineup is then again for the 13th to the 15th?
Right. So we start with the official kickoff party at McCoy's Sunset Bar, and that's 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. And there's going to be fireworks, the opening fireworks, from 11 p.m. until 11:10, and that's at the same location in Little Cayman on the 13th. And then on Saturday the 14th, we have a slew of events starting between 3 p.m. to midnight, inclusive of the float parade, the costume competition, the fireworks, and the Pirates Party. And that's all. The starting point for the parade is Head of Bay. Okay. And the costume competition, fireworks, and Pirate Party are all happening at Hungry Iguana.
Okay.
And then on the 15th, we close off the Little Cayman festivities with our Pirates Farewell Lunch at McCoy's Sunset Bar. And that's from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m.
Okay, and that's on the 15th.
And that's on the 15th, correct.
And then we rush everyone back over to Grand Cayman for 4 days
Rush everyone back over to Grand Cayman on the, we'll all be coming back around the 15th or the 16th for the Grand Cayman celebrations, which now take place starting on the 19th of November, and that's a Thursday. And the schedule of events are pretty much the same. We have the Hard Rock, the happy hour at the Hard Rock Cafe from 4 p.m. until 7. We also have the Pirates Week official kickoff party at the Wharf, and that's from 7 p.m. until 2 a.m. So this is your opportunity to get really, dressed up in your best pirate garb and come out and celebrate, the kickoff of the Grand Cayman celebrations.
Okay. And then the full schedule will be available on the piratesweekfestival.com.
Full schedule is available on that website. Also, our social media handles, including our Facebook page, Cayman Islands Pirates Week Festival, and for Instagram, Pirates Week Cayman.
Pirates Week Cayman. Mm-hmm. And then as far as if any changes should come out, the social media will be the primary deliverer for that information?
Yes, I mean we're pretty good with doing both. We update our website and our social media. Okay. Basically, at the same time, so you can go to any one of those sources to get the most updated information. Okay. And if you're interested in purchasing tickets for any of the events that we have going on, eventpro.ky is the place to go, and it's a convenient way of purchasing tickets. And the schedule has in the top right-hand corner a key that lists what events are family-friendly, what events are private, virtual, and ticketed. So it makes it easier for you to follow the schedule and know exactly what events you're interested in attending. So we have something for everyone on our schedule.
Sounds good. And then just to confirm again, the National Song Competition and the District Heritage Ambassador Costume Competition have been merged into the K-Fest festivities for February.
Yes, and so has the District Days. The District Days are going to be in K-Fest for 2021 as well.
Okay. And then will the District Days also be coming back into the Pirates Week foray in the future, or is that going to be staying within the K-Fest?
Well, I think that will be staying within the K-Fest.
Okay.
It was a decision that was supported by the district committees and the Ministry of Culture to move the District Days to the K-Fest lineup as it aligns more with the cultural aspect of what K-Fest offers.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the updates, and
thank you too, Ray. Appreciate it.
Stay dry, and all the best with the Little Cayman festivities on the 13th.
Thank you so much, and we're looking forward to seeing everyone out on the 19th through the 24th for the Grand Cayman festivities.
Great. Thank you so much, Mel.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Stay dry.
Thanks. You too.
So again, listeners, you can check out the piratesweekfestival.com website for further information on the 2020 Pirates Week festivities. Kudos again to Mel and her team at the Pirates Week office for continuing the initiative behind Pirates Week despite all of the challenges with 2020 between COVID and the weather. So again, that's November 13th to 15th. They will be in Little Cayman, and then November 19th to the 24th back over here in Grand Cayman. And the National Song Competition and the District Heritage Ambassador Costume Competition have been combined into K-Fest for February. Quick announcement we do want to make on behalf of the Cayman Brac Fire Service. They would like to advise the public that their landline 948-1245 is currently down, and Flow is working to resolve the issue. Calls made to this number is being answered by the Fire Control in Grand Cayman. Landline 948-1293 is, however, functional and answered on the Brac. On that note, we're going to go to our first commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more open line on today's episode of Talk Today. Back with more Talk Today right after this.
Maintaining a strong mind and body through sports and general healthy living is a good course of action. But what about your spiritual man, your inner man? He has to be awakened, fed, exercised, strengthened, and led according to the will of God. So, have you heard the call? I'm Evangelist Brother Joseph Joey Ebanks, and I'm inviting you to worship Wednesday and Thursday nights at 7:30. We are bringing the Word of God to our communities as Jesus commanded. Faith comes by hearing, so come and hear. Bring your own chair or simply park and listen to the Word of God from your vehicle, covering the Cayman Islands with the Word of God, one community at a time.
Have You Heard the Call will be meeting November 11th and 12th at the Windsor Park Playground.
Digital is not a buzzword, it is a culture. At Digicel, we've made it our mission to enrich your digital lives. That's why we're bringing together more of all the experiences you love. The latest shows, the best of local and international music and radio, live sports, cloud storage, breaking news, HD video chats, and more. Welcome to Digital at Digicel, the Caribbean's fastest mobile network. Digicel, better together.
The Cayman Islands Justices of the Peace Association will be holding its annual general meeting on Wednesday, the 18th of November, starting at 5:30 p.m. in Conference Room 1038 on the ground floor of the Government Administration Building. Entry to the building will be through the staff entrance. All members of the association are encouraged to attend. The agenda will include special donation presentations to recipients of 3 non-profit organizations that render services to children and youth in our Cayman Islands community. Refreshments will be provided. Remember, the Justices of the Peace Association annual general meeting is Wednesday, November 18th at the Government Administration Building.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And welcome back to Talk Today. Hope everyone is staying as dry as they possibly can today. Again, we do have open line. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And I believe we have one caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon. This is John Lawrence, the manager of the Queen Elizabeth II Botanic Park.
John, good afternoon. How are you staying dry over there?
Trying to do our best. It's rained pretty heavy and consistently for the last little while, and hopefully the rain that they call for tomorrow doesn't come because we're pretty much saturated at the park. We've had to close the park one day this year due to flooding, and hopefully we don't have to do that again.
It's challenging when we start having to close down facilities because of flooding. It makes just a very difficult time.
Yeah, it's a good thing though because it does help our water bill. So there is some positives to it as well.
I love you have to find that silver lining. At the end of the day, no matter what happens,
exactly.
There is a silver lining somewhere in there.
For sure.
And so according to the weather bulletin that we got at 10 a.m., you're definitely expecting a fair bit of rain. I think if I saw correctly, there was something. No, I'll find it in a few moments. Oh, here we go. 150 to 250 millimeters of rain expected tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is sizable. At least it slows down on Saturday, but then we get the wind, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's new at the Botanic Park these days, John?
We're doing a lot of things right now. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on our coming up plant sale, or our pop-up plant sale. It's a little far off, but I just wanted to get it into people's minds to put the date, Saturday, the 28th of November, as our plant sale day.
Okay.
It's going to operate from 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. in the afternoon at the Botanic Park Nursery. We also have a few other great reasons to come to the park that day. We have a small selections of Cayman's farmers coming to sell their produce. So we've got Plantation Organic Gardens, which is Joel Walton, Cayman Farm and Garden, Patrick Panton, and The Farm That Is, another great local farmer. So they're going to be present at the sale as well. So it's another reason in itself to come out.
Sure.
We also are going green, as the park always is green, but if you bring 10 plastic plant pots in good shape and clean, we'll give you $1 off your purchase of plants. So everybody always has these plants kicking around their yards. If they're clean, bring 10 of them in, we'll give you $1 off. If you bring 100 in, we'll give you $10 off. So our plants are always very reasonably priced, and this is just another little added incentive.
That's great. You mean those little black pots that were...
Yeah, the little black pots.
Yeah, that's great.
Anything to keep them out of the landfill.
What a great idea that is, to do that. Great. What else we have going on?
That day also, typically plant sales keep the crowds at the plant sale itself. So we are offering free admission to the Botanic Park for the whole day. So not only you can enjoy the park at a no cost during the day, you've got the plant sale going on, you've got the farmers there selling their produce, and in addition, we have live music on the front porch by Mark Ebanks from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. So it's a great day out at the Botanic Park, Saturday the 28th of November. It's a little far off, but it's something to mark on the calendars now.
No, that's fantastic. So just a quick recap here. We have, can you give us an idea of what kind of plants will be on sale on that day?
We have, our nurserymen, Mr. Trevor and Nick, they've been producing, from plumbagos, indoor plants, small shrubs. We do have a few small palm trees for sale, a wide variety, really, something for everybody. Whether it's an indoor plant or something for the yard. And with this weather, it's good to get the plants in the ground before the dreaded dry season is just around the corner again.
No, that's true. And just to really poke into your selection here, because I'm a plant guy as well, what are your selection of indoor plants that you have available?
Well, there's a few palms that we do have for sale. We'll have some dracaenas for sale, some... pothos, some. I'm just trying to think of what else we have. I'm not at the nursery. We'll have a small selection of bromeliads as well. I don't think we have any orchids left over. I don't want to say that word anymore, but we have something for everybody. I don't have a list in front of me, unfortunately.
No, fair enough. That's we appreciate you sharing what you have, and then we also have the three of our local farmers. Will have their selection of produce available for sale as well.
Exactly. That's just a new idea that came out. We hope to include them in a future sales and get it kind of a regular thing. Saturday is a big day at the market down the market at the grounds.
Yes, it is.
And then on Wednesdays at Cayman Bay. But there hasn't really been a place for the farmers to have their stuff out on the eastern part of the island. So
that's great.
Just another incentive, another new idea that we're doing.
Absolutely. Is this something that we can hope to see more of in the future, maybe one monthly or bi-monthly scenario?
Yeah, once a month, once every 2 months. It takes some time to produce plants for the sale.
Sure.
We're also continually working and replanting areas of the garden. So sometimes you'll maybe 2 months before we have something. If we're growing stuff specifically for the garden. The children's garden is an ongoing work in progress. Unfortunately, that's been slowed down with the weather, but it's still progressing a lot. We hope to have some of it open next year at some point and hopefully completed fully by the end of next year.
Okay, that's great. And then just again, you'll also be doing the Furthering Your Green initiatives, and for every 10 pots that the public bring in, that's 10 clean black plastic pots, you're offering $1 off every plant purchase. Yeah,
that's great. And the park is free to get in that day.
Absolutely.
Resident admission is only $5 anyways.
Okay.
We've noticed like everywhere, we have a massive slowdown in our numbers of visitors. So if you want to give a donation or even come at another time, literally it's only $5 to visit. It's one of the cheapest things that you can do on the island. No,
absolutely. That's definitely a very reasonable rate for entry to a national attraction.
Exactly.
Without doubt. So no entry fee. That's Saturday, November 28th. The event takes place from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m., but the park is open from 9 a.m. until 4:30 p.m.
Correct.
And then you'll have live music by Mark Ebanks, and that will be from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m.
Yep, and he'll be on the front porch, so it's just kind of a nice little welcome session. Most of these musicians from the DOT, they played before at the airport welcoming. So we're just keeping everybody part of the action right now.
That's great, Mark. And John, if anybody has any questions for you, whether about your one-day plant sale or the park in general, how can they get in touch with you?
The best email to use is info@botanic-park.ky, or they can call 947-9462. Our most updated social media platform is Facebook. It's what we use a lot. We can target the island.
Sure.
So any updates will be on there. All the media houses should receive media announcements of this, and hopefully, maybe we can call in again a little bit closer to the event.
Absolutely.
For a little refresher on that.
That's great, John. Thank you so much for calling in, and hopefully the park doesn't get too much more water over the next couple of days.
Yeah, we'll take a little bit. But it seems that these rains in November's the last few years are bringing the big amounts. So we're grateful for it, but I wish it could come a little more evenly dispersed throughout the year.
We all do. We all wish it was just like we picked like every night between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m.
Exactly.
That's the time it rained every single day. It'd be a nice little break. John, thank you so much again for calling in.
Thanks very much. Have a great day. Stay dry and stay safe.
Thank you, sir. Same to you. Alrighty, so again, that was John from the Botanic Park announcing their one-day plant sale on Saturday, November 28th at the Botanic Park Nursery off of Frank Sound Road. That's from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. They're waiving all their entry fees for that day, which is pretty fantastic for a national attraction at this time of year to do so. They have live music by Mark Ebanks from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. and we'll have 3 of our local farmers available selling produce on that day. Again, for the Cayman Brac community. On behalf of the Cayman Brac Fire Service, they would like to advise the public that their landline 948-1245 is currently down, and Flow is working to resolve those issues. Any calls made to that number is being fielded by the team over here in Grand Cayman. The landline 948-1293 is functional and being responded to by their crew in Cayman Brac. We had Pirates Week call in a little bit ago. Again, their festivities for this coming weekend have been postponed until November 19th to the 24th. The National Song Competition and District Heritage Ambassador Costume Competition have been merged into the K-Fest festivities in February. We do have open line right now. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or just feel like calling in to just say hello, please do give us a call. The number is 1-800-534-8255 or 1-800. That's 1-800-534-TALK, or you can WhatsApp us at 925-3261. Again, later in the show, after our 1 p.m. headline news, we will be joined by His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper, to discuss a number of items he has on the agenda for today. Our weather update as well from 10 a.m. We are currently anticipated to receive about 5 to 10 inches of rain tomorrow. So quite a bit of a heavy Friday for us. Models are indicating extreme amounts of precipitation across the Cayman Islands from Friday evening, given Tropical Depression Ida's current forecast path. Saturday is expected to be a little windier, but a little less rain, with only 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain expected. A small craft warning is in effect for the Cayman Islands, with estimated wave heights tomorrow of 5 to 7 feet, and on Saturday from 7 to 9 feet. A marine warning is expected to be in effect from Friday evening. And in case you have not seen the satellite imagery just yet, Cayman, or Grand Cayman rather, is sitting right now on the very edge of the cone, and we're seeing some of the weather coming in today, and my socks are wet. Hopefully you managed to stay a little drier than I have today. But on that note, we're going to go to our commercial break. When we come back, open line is still on until 1 p.m. Be back with more talk today right after this.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Would you like to win some extra cash for Christmas? Yes, cash, cash, cash! Well, here's your chance to do so. The Cayman Islands Netball Association, CINA, is having their Cash-O-Rama fundraiser, which was postponed due to the lockdown. The Cash-O-Rama will now be held on December 19th at Constitution Hall, formerly the Georgetown Town Hall. There are 4 top prizes of $1,000 each, plus 10 prizes of $100, pure hard cold cash. You don't have to be present to win, so get your ticket today from any player or association member. Donation is only $15. All previous tickets purchased for the Cash-O-Rama will be honored. Great entertainment and food will be on sale. Proceeds from the event will go towards the netball development program that will help improve the international ranking of all the squads. The Cayman Islands Netball Association, Cash-O-Rama, coming December 19th. CINA, a registered charity organization.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and we do have open line on until 1 o'clock today. Give us a call if you have any questions, you have any stories you'd like to share, or any feedback on anything you see going on in the community or globally. 1-800-534-TALK. That's 1-800-534-8255. Or WhatsApp is 925-3261. At 1 o'clock, we will be joined in studio by His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper, discussing a number of issues on the agenda for today. And I'm sure many will be aware we have the U.S. election count, which is going on still in the U.S., and as expected by everyone, a definite production that's been going on right now. We're seeing the count going in, lawsuits coming out in different places, and if I'm not mistaken, I do have Justice General site open right now. Still a few states here to be contested right now, and I believe that would be Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Alaska, I believe, are the remaining jurisdictions out there that are still waiting to be counted, with Joe Biden out in the lead. I believe the electoral count right now is 264 to 214. Now that's if the website I have open is correct. Perhaps I'm not. 253 to 214 apparently is the count according to CNN. Looking at that was my correction by Miss Susan. Clearly the Google website I have open is not 100%. All right, so I'm getting the clarity. Apparently, Google might be wrong right now, and CNN is correct, according to according to all other sources. But that's where we're at right now on the U.S. side. But the U.S. election, U.S. Economic policies, and the U.S. market in itself has quite a global effect. So many around the world tuning in to see what might come of this election. And then obviously globally we're seeing further lockdowns across the world with respect to COVID. And when we start looking at that situation, that one hits home much more closely, I think, at times in the U.S. election, since that's something that has affected us just as much as affected everybody else. And thankfully, thanks to some very stringent policies here earlier on, we're all able to move about freely. We have the flexibility and the freedom to do so, and just one of those elements that I think we all need to take a step back and be grateful for. There's always something to complain about. There's always something to be frustrated about, but there's always something to be grateful for, and that's one of those areas that I think, because we're not living in that fair moment right now, we tend to forget about it. But social media definitely highlights a number of the issues that we have socially, economically. And again, it's just so easy to get lost in the shuffle of toxicity and the complaining and forget the fact that many around the world are right now facing war-torn zones. Many around the world are facing COVID lockdowns. Many around the world are facing far harsher economic situations than we're facing right now. We have neighbors to the southwest of us who have just been impacted greatly by this storm, which we are now facing the remnants of. So many others in other jurisdictions far worse off than we are here in Cayman, and I think there's a lot to be grateful for. Again, we had Pirates Week call in earlier in the show. A reminder as well, their events which were originally scheduled for this coming weekend due to the inclement weather have been postponed until November 19th to the 24th. The Little Cayman events, however, will be moving forward as scheduled. That's November 13th to the 15th. The National Song Competition and the District Heritage Ambassador Costume Competition have been combined into K-Fest for February 2021. Again, much up in the air. Events are very difficult to plan. And unfortunately, the Cayman Brac events did not pan out as initially anticipated last weekend. However, with that said, we heard from Mel herself, they are trying to rebuild the Cayman Brac Pirates Week committee so that future years will see the resurgence of the Cayman Brac events. For more information on the schedule for Pirates Week 2020, visit piratesweekfestival.com, and that is for both the Little Cayman and the Grand Cayman lineup. Big thank you to John from the Botanic Park, who just called in a little while ago. They have their one-day pop-up plant sale, which is, I think, a pretty neat little event to be hosting out towards the Eastern Districts on Saturday, November 28th. The fundraising event will be held at the Botanic Park Nursery inside the attraction off of Frankstown Road from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. Plant lovers like myself, they will also have the several local farmers out there, Plantation Organic Gardens, Cayman Farm and Garden, and The Farm That Is, who will be out there selling their local produce as well. Then another green initiative that is being put on by the park is there for every 10 garden pots, those little black pots that we see and we can buy our plants in. If you have any pots that are cleaned and that are not broken, for every 10 pots that you do bring in, they will give you $1 off of your plant purchase, which I think is a great way of just recycling and avoiding those plastic pots winding up in the landfill and just seeing them be put back to use and saving yourself a little bit of money off of your next plant purchase. The Botanic Park will be waiving entry fees for that day. That's Saturday, November 28th. The opening hours of the park is 9 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. However, the pop-up sale is going to be from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. And they'll have marquee bands playing live music on their front porch from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. And the resident for the Botanic Park is $5. When we consider the cost of operations of the park itself or a national attraction of that magnitude, $5 is a fairly reasonable price tag. And then tomorrow on Talk Today, in case you're planning ahead for tomorrow's show, we will have Mr. Banks in the studio discussing, Mr. Loxley Banks here in the studio discussing, I believe it was the Veterans, the Veteran Day events. Unfortunately, the Veterans Day activities, which are normally organized by the Remembrance Day activities, which are normally organized by the protocol office, unfortunately due to COVID, were canceled for this year. Because the reality is we're talking about a very vulnerable population when we start talking about our elderly and those who would be out, and it was deemed not a wise idea to put our veterans or the elderly at risk for a large social event of that magnitude. And that is an event that does draw in a fair number of people for Remembrance Day or Veterans Day on Monday. But tune in tomorrow to Talk Today, where we will have Mr. Loxley Banks in studio with a full feature as tribute to our veterans. Again, at 1 p.m. or just after our 1 p.m. headline news in a few minutes, we'll be joined in studio by His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper. And that's about it. If you have any questions or comments, please give us a call. We have about 4 or 5 minutes left of open line before we go to our 1 p.m. headline news. 1-800-534-8255. That's 1-800-534-8255. Again, we have a number of items out there in the community here to discuss. Or if you want to have a little fun and throw cast your vote in the ring for who's going to win the U.S. elections, by all means, feel free. We got a few minutes to entertain some callers on that. Again, we do want to ask you to definitely exercise caution over the next few days with your driving. We're going to have some serious flooding going on. We've seen the flooding already on our roads. We have seen unfortunately this morning I saw a few drivers just really driving in a unwise manner with some big puddles out there in the roads, and they're dodging puddles, but in the process of dodging puddles, you're venturing into oncoming traffic in the process of that. So please do be courteous on our roads. A lot of rain coming in. Turn your lights on, get your wipers sorted if you need to get your wipers sorted. Please pay attention on the road. Put your cell phones down. Ask your family to just be a little bit respectful in the car and recognize the fact that you are driving a lethal vehicle, a lethal weapon at that moment in time, and it's not worth it. It's not worth the life of anybody that's else on the road, and it's not worth you or your family's life. If you're out there and you know you have family members who don't drive very responsibly, a gentle nudge in the right direction is a good thing right now. Don't send them a text and they'll read it while they're driving. Just, wait till they get home tonight and let them know, just to drive a little safer for the next few days. We do have a lot of rain coming in according to the 10 a.m. forecast this morning. I believe the next weather update is coming out at 4 p.m. this afternoon. But the severe weather bulletin did come out this morning at 10 a.m. And we have a very heavy wet day coming in tomorrow. The Friday models are indicating extreme amounts of precipitation across our islands from Friday evening. Anticipated 5 to 10 inches of rain tomorrow alone. That's a sizable amount of rain, and then 1.5 to 2.5 inches on Saturday. Just about 2-3 minutes away from our 1 p.m. headline news, we'll go to a commercial break, and then we'll be joined right after that with His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper. Back with more talk today right after this.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex. Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's spread the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. 2 positives for COVID-19 from the batch of 125 COVID-19 tests carried out since Tuesday. The individuals are asymptomatic travelers who returned a positive test result following routine screening. They will remain in isolation until considered recovered. In international news, parts of Central America could still see life-threatening flash flooding as Tropical Depression Eta continues to pummel the region with unrelenting rain before heading towards the U.S. coast. The lingering tropical depression is still forecast to dump another 10 to 15 inches of rain in some areas. That means parts of eastern Honduras and eastern Nicaragua, which have already been inundated by heavy rain, could see up to 40 inches of rainfall total over the course of the storm. Jeff Bezos sold more than $3 billion worth of his Amazon stock this week, taking advantage of a 75% surge in his company's value this year. The Amazon CEO didn't explain why he sold so many shares, but he regularly sells off his stock, often using it to fund his Blue Origin space company and other ventures. The cleanup of a massive oil spill in August from a vessel off Mauritius will likely be mostly completed by January, the bulk carrier's owner, Japan's Nagashiki Shipping, said Thursday. Of the roughly 1,000 tons that spilled from the Panamanian-flagged MV Wakashio, all of the oil that had been floating in the ocean had been recovered. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And we're very pleased to have in studio now His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper. Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today.
Well, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to come back. I don't have far to come to pop across to you, but
you don't
it's always
have
a
far
pleasure.
To come. Did the rain stop for you?
The rain stopped, yes, but the brollies were ready just in case.
The brollies were ready. It's needed today. It's been a very wet day, and
it has. It looks like we've got sort of the a tropical storm sort of brushing us by. Probably Saturday afternoon looks like we may get sort of tropical storm winds at that point. But I think tomorrow as well there could be a lot of rain. So it does look as if we'll get a large amount of rain. So obviously people need to be mindful of that and take the usual precautions. I think the conditions on the roads may be quite difficult and some potentially some flooding. So I'm sure people will bear that in mind. But I know the Weather Service and Hazard Management will be putting further sort of advisories out later today.
Yeah, we actually had them on the show yesterday.
You did? Good.
Yes,
so you've talked through all of this, although it was a bit early yesterday. Yesterday it seemed the weather front was a little bit further away. It seems to have come a little bit closer to us, but still only tropical storm winds, nothing sort of worse than that, thankfully.
And I think everyone kind of woke up this morning hopeful that it was going to continue verging to the west.
Yeah.
And we all saw it come slightly back.
Enough, not very much. Not very much.
Not very much. Enough to make us go, oh, we're in the cone again.
Yeah, but we've had plenty this year. We don't really need any more excitement. So
we don't need any more excitement. Very well said. It's funny when we had the team from Hazard Management on the show yesterday. They were kind of going through the list of the challenges of 2020.
Yeah,
and they brought up the dust storm, which I had forgotten all about.
My goodness, so had I. Actually, yes, no, that's true. We did have that dust storm.
Earthquake, all the follow-up aftershocks. Then they went through just the fire. And then they brought the sandstorm. I went, oh, wait a second, that's right.
Yeah,
there was
the Sahara dust.
Sahara sand.
That's right.
Because the team from the National Weather Service, Mr. Tibbetts, was mentioning, I think they put out 122 warnings as compared to, I guess, their normal ratio on a busy month is about 30. They were saying 4 times the amount in October, which is quite serious.
Yeah,
you start talking about changes and what they're encountering. And it's a wild world right now.
Yes, and there's an election going on not too far away from us as well, which
there is
not quite concluded. So there's a lot going on in the world at the moment.
There is. You have COVID lockdowns happening across the pond.
That's right. Well, for today the UK is it's called a lockdown, but it's not a full lockdown because the universities, the schools, the factories, sort of essential business is still obviously underway. But the UK infection rate has increased, and it's important to try and bring what's known as the R rate down to below 1 so that the infection isn't spreading. So the UK was trying to do this through regional sort of tiered measures. So you take a region and you have the measures you need for that region to get the infection rate down. But it appears that wasn't going to be sufficient to stop infection rates going up, potentially a lot more people having to go into hospital and very sadly a lot more people losing their lives. So the government decided that there was no alternative but to do a full lockdown in England, which is the larger population with sort of 45 million people. So we obviously hope that that goes well, and that by early December the UK can come out of that lockdown. I'm pleased and thanks to a lot of great work by Andre Ebanks and the teams here about the British Airways flights, because that was confirmed yesterday. They will continue, so we will have the flights coming in November. And I know that they're very close to agreeing the schedule for December and January for British Airways flights to London. I know British Airways will be announcing announcing the details of that soon, because it's a really tough time for everyone. Not, the COVID is obviously an incredible crisis that the whole world is going through, but just being able to sort of travel and or not being able to travel, whether it's to see family, friends, relatives who are ill, traveling for education, it's a very stressful period for everybody, being able to organise all this. So I hope British Airways can confirm the December and January flights soon, because I know a lot of people are waiting anxiously for those details.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned the team with Andre,
yes,
and his team, and
Andre and his team working very closely with the Deputy Governor's sort of team as well. But I think Andre put a very good sort of press notice out yesterday, just confirming the November flights are definitely going ahead, including one today. So that was important for people to know.
That's great, because I know we had him on the show when he was. They were talking about when the students were going back to school. They had done the welcome package, I believe.
That's right.
So we had him on the show, and they were kind of walking through what the young Caymanians heading over to the UK could anticipate. With regards to that welcome package and what they had to do and the process that they go through, and now for them to be stuck into another lockdown period, it's a very challenging situation.
It is. Although schools and universities are still open.
So those are still open.
So they're still open. So that, in terms of getting backwards and forwards to school, that parents can take children to school and collect them from school afterwards. But obviously, if people are at boarding school, then the boarding schools remain open. And I think these days a lot of UK boarding schools will have a mixture of day pupils who get driven there and people who are staying on a sort of permanent basis at the school.
So, what are the businesses that are facing the lockdown? Is that?
It's effectively the retail and entertainment sector. So pubs, bars, restaurants, all of those have had to close. This is just and there are restrictions around not meeting people from outside your immediate household in your home. So really, it's back to the sort of lockdown that took place earlier in the year, but it's not quite as extensive because I think the UK is clear that the risks to school children particularly remain very low, and that the costs of actually closing schools down outweighs the sort of risks of keeping them open. So there's been a very strong political decision in the UK to keep schools and universities open, which I think that seems to be the right decision.
And in regards to, is it a scenario of the lockdown being a time situation? I mean, they're locked down until a period of time?
Yes, they've done it for 4 weeks, so it takes us up to early December, by which time, if the R rate has come down sufficiently so that we know infections aren't still increasing across the country, then I think they will go back to this sort of tiered regional approach. So where you have a particular region that has high infection rates, you'll have more stringent measures, but where you have parts of the country where there's very low risk and very little COVID, and that's still the case now, some of the more rural areas, then you would be able to have fewer restrictions in place. So I think that's the government's aim. But of course, if the infection rate doesn't come down, they will face a very difficult decision of do they have to continue with this? And as we get closer to Christmas, that becomes really quite tough. So fingers crossed that they will be able to relax these restrictions.
Absolutely, fingers crossed indeed, because this time of year when the pressure rates do tend to rise just because of loneliness and those who are cut off from family members, and however might be the case scenario, the holidays are a very sad time for many.
That's right.
To go through a lockdown in that period would just really compound a lot of the issues that we've seen through 2020.
Yeah, it will. And at the moment for November, the UK is saying to citizens, don't travel internationally unless it is essential. So I think for people coming here in November, if obviously Caymanians coming home, or students returning, permanent residents coming back, or work permit holders coming in for work, I mean, those categories are fine. But beyond that, then the advice in the UK is not to travel. So obviously I think we want that changed for December, because a lot of people will want to come backwards and forwards for Christmas and see family and friends. So I recognise it's a pretty tough time for everyone, and it creates a lot of uncertainty and a lot of stress, and that's sadly what COVID is doing to the whole world. But at least here we can, I think, be very proud of the fact that our lives have pretty much returned to normal, and that's extraordinary. When you look at what's happening in Europe, UK, as we've just spoken about, in the States and many other parts of the world. But we do have COVID very, very firmly under control here, and we're able to go about our normal business, which is a real blessing.
It is a real blessing. I remember when they had the Red Bay scare a little while ago. It was kind of like that wake-up call of, hold on a second.
Yeah.
We've come a long way, let's wake up and realize how far we've come. Let's not fall back into that.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I do think that the Cayman government responded extremely well to that, though. I think particularly on testing. If you think we tested about 1,000 people in 24 hours, which was pretty impressive, and I think that is. It does show if there is, heaven forbid, an outbreak of COVID or something just pops up, because it's a very complicated virus to deal with. We do have the systems in place around the testing and the tracing and knowing whose contacts, who people have been in contact with, so we can very effectively deal with it, as I think the Red Bay situation showed. But yes, thankfully that turned out in the end to have been a false alarm. Clearly the biggest risk is the travellers coming in, but I do believe that the systems that the government has put in place, and Deputy Governor and his committee are doing a terrific job on this. So the bracelet that people have to wear for tracking, the physical surveillance, people going around and checking where people are, going to people's homes and checking the home isolation before we give them permission to isolate at home, the testing on when people arrive or before they then leave isolation, and then the increase in fines. All of that is a very robust and stringent risk mitigation measure, and so far it's worked really well. I mean, we've been doing this now since mid-September, so that's 6 weeks. We started with the British Airways as a pilot.
Yes.
The mid-September British Airways flight was the first.
That's right, yes.
I think there were less than 100 people, and then we went into it properly in October. But so far it has worked, and I pay tribute to the Deputy Governor and all his team who are working extremely hard to keep that working as well as it is.
Absolutely. On that note with the bracelets and the quarantine system, and it's a very logistically intensive process to do what they're doing. And I've met 3 people who have gone through the quarantine lockdown period, and each of the 3 has said the following. They've said that in almost unison, it's almost like a common statement. They've said that they give credit that they didn't realize how stringent the system was going to be. I guess that one individual, I guess the bracelet was kind of sticking out, so he thought to cut the end of the bracelet just because it was sticking against his hand. Right. And apparently within a very short period of time, the police were at his door because the bracelet had been tampered with. He didn't even think about it.
Right.
He just kind of cut the edge of it off because it was dangling against his wrist.
Yeah.
And there was another individual who had mentioned that he had to go through when the storm was coming through.
Yes.
And they were going to move him.
Yeah.
He said, well, I can just kind of go next door. And they said, no. You just can't pick up and just walk into your room next door. We have to come and make sure that we've gone through the process here. And
that's right.
Just a wake-up call to everyone realize that everyone is taking this to the next level of seriousness.
It is extremely serious, and I've seen it at close quarters. So I know just how hard people are working on this in civil service and across all our various agencies. Absolutely. And I've had really positive feedback from individuals who've gone through the airport and said, well, it was a really smooth process coming back, and so I've had numbers of people sort of said that despite dealing with sometimes quite large volumes of people, all done very quickly and efficiently. A lot of people will always find things that don't go well, and obviously nobody's perfect, and no civil service in the world is perfect. But I do think there's an awful lot positive going on, and a lot of fantastic results. And I've been here 2 years now, and I believe that the commitment that I see on a daily basis from the vast majority of our civil servants is really impressive. People who are genuinely trying to do their best to make the lives of people in our community better, and I think that's what has always driven me as a public servant, that public service ethos, being able to help people, delivering customer service, and everyone is talking the language of enhancing customer service and delivering for our community and making lives better. Sometimes it's just important to take a step back and sort of recognise that actually there's a lot of things that are going very well, despite challenges in some areas. That's how we get better, and that's how we improve. When things don't go well, and we learn from it and do it better next time.
Absolutely, and I think that's the comfort. That's the level of comfort that I think the community feels. I feel it. To know that mistakes are going to happen.
Yeah.
But they're almost immediately, just attacked on. The mistakes is attacked on, and the steps put in place to correct it. Yeah. That's what anybody wants, especially in a situation like COVID, where it is such a potentially catastrophic situation. If it only takes one incident, and it becomes a very ballooned experience for everybody.
Yeah.
And so this is the one where I think the community, I feel it, that level of comfort there.
Yeah. And the community has done. It's the community that has got us into this position, because without that cooperation, we wouldn't be where we are today. So again, let me just say a huge thank you to everyone in the community. I think we have to keep it going. I think there is a particular responsibility on all the travellers that are coming back. We do need any travellers coming back from the US, UK, Jamaica, wherever, to really understand that in their actions will count hugely for the Cayman Islands being able to continue with this really good position we've got ourselves in. So we ask them to follow the guidance, do what is required, and that's Cayman kind. That's behaving responsibly to protect everyone in our community, particularly our sort of older and more vulnerable populations, who, as we've seen around the world, would be at great risk if we had any spikes in COVID.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, we've seen the Remembrance Day events for Monday were unfortunately cancelled with this reason in mind, the welfare of our elderly.
Yes, I think the big event where we normally have the parade by all the agencies, that's been cancelled. I think the Premier and I will still lay a wreath at where we normally do. So it'll be a very, very small event. Yes. We have to see what the weather. I think it is Sunday morning. It's taking place, but we'll have to see what the weather impacts on that at the moment. If we've got sort of very heavy rains, but I think it was the right decision not to go ahead with a very large event, and we have to listen to our veterans and respect their wishes, and it was very much their wish, not this year to have a major event. So we absolutely have to respect that. Have been many other events that have gone on, and I was at the Breast Cancer Foundation Gala a week or so ago, 500 people there, and we've organised that very impressive event. And we can do things like that on the islands. It's extraordinary. Tonight I'm at the UCCI graduation, and again to be able to do that when you look around the world is wonderful. So we should be thankful.
No, without doubt. It's again, it's side question with regards to our neighbors, Cuba, Jamaica. How are they all faring up with regards to the COVID situation? I haven't heard a whole lot coming out of those jurisdictions.
I think it's still challenging. I think obviously they've got a lot more cases than we have, and I think certainly obviously we all know what's happening in the UK, and we see what's happening in the US. I think there are still lots of cases in Jamaica and Cuba, and I think there's perhaps we're not entirely sure of how accurate all the data is around. So I think it's safe to assume that is still a challenging situation. But it doesn't seem to be anywhere in the Caribbean region. It's not at the same level as what's happening in Europe. I mean, Europe is at the moment the epicenter of COVID, and it really has taken off in many European countries, which got it under control and then sort of relaxed, and people started going overseas on holiday. I think for the UK, it seems to be hundreds of thousands of people went to Spain on holiday, and people coming back have brought COVID back with them. So Europe is the sort of main epicenter of the COVID outbreak at the present time.
Are other jurisdictions in Europe going through similar lockdowns that the UK is now?
Yes, France, Spain, even Germany, which had done very well up to this point. That Germany has also had some sort of big outbreaks and has had to sort of close down to the same extent. So Poland, it's very difficult in Poland. A lot of European countries. It seems to. The first wave in Europe seemed to sort of take its time to go around different countries. This second wave, and it is a second wave, Europe is experiencing a second wave of COVID, but it's hit Europe at the same time. So all countries seem to be going through it at the same time, which again just shows how dangerous this virus is. And if it does get loose, it's incredibly difficult to control it. Yeah.
And then as far as the vaccine situation, because I know the vaccine conversation has evolved a lot. There's been a lot of different tangents to this conversation.
It has.
Can you iron a bit of this out for us?
Of course. So I think the UK remains at the forefront of developing a vaccine and also of trying to support countries in the world to get vaccines, particularly the poorer countries. So there are a number of vaccines under development in the UK, and the UK has undertaken to supply vaccines to all the overseas territories once we know that they are safe and reliable. That process continues, so that the trials are still ongoing, and we haven't reached the point yet where anyone can say that this vaccine is safe and reliable and can be supplied to the populations. But I know that the UK is wanting to be able to get into that position as quickly as possible. We don't know exactly when. I think there will obviously be a concern from people about whether it is safe to take a vaccine, and I hear that quite a lot when I go around and talk to people. So I think there will be a need to really try and get the message out that any vaccine that we recommend people take is safe and reliable. But I think it's good news that the UK is willing to supply vaccines to overseas territories from the very beginning of its having its own supply going out to the UK more widely, particularly in the UK, starting with healthcare workers and NHS people on the front line. So we'll then need to decide here how to move that process forward. But I can already see that there is a real challenge around the sort of the communication of that decision and encouraging people to take it and encouraging them to take it, because it will be recommended by the medical authorities that this is a safe and reliable vaccine.
Sure. It's one of those tricky ones, because the scenario where we know it's been while there's going to be measures in any kind of vaccine trials, it's definitely a rushed scenario. It's not like they've had years to develop this concept, and there's quite a few different jurisdictions who are equally trying to do this.
Yeah.
Are the UK vaccines being produced, tested, and trialed in the UK, or are there other jurisdictions involved in this process?
It tends to be sort of multinational. So AstraZeneca and Oxford University is probably the one that people have heard about the most. So that's a major sort of vaccine production system underway, but what they then to do is they do their trials in a range of different countries. So you get more evidence from different people in different populations and different levels of sort of COVID risk as well. So then and it's tens of thousands of people who are undergoing these trials, but done in different places. So you get a variety of different data to be able to form a view that yes, this is safe and reliable, and we now recommend that it be rolled out. And the UK will obviously have to take a decision as to what point that's been reached, and the World Health Organization obviously will be involved in that as well. But I think if the UK medical authorities are saying to the UK population that this vaccine is safe and reliable, I mean, yes, you can never rule out some minor side effects with vaccines. That happens now with vaccines that we take. But I believe in the UK there would be a large take-up of that vaccine, because even if a vaccine is not 100% successful in terms of giving every single person immunity, even if you only get 50%, 70%, what that does is reduce the risk of infection enormously. So if you're trying to get back to people being able to come backwards and forwards, a vaccine will be an incredibly important tool that all countries will need to adopt. Once we get to the point at which we can say with as much certainty as possible that it is safe and reliable to take. But I do recognise, having spoken to a lot of people myself about this, that there is clearly a level of concern out there about this, and I think that's government's responsibility to address those concerns and come up with the points that people need to give them reassurance.
Sure. And then with regards to the trials itself that have been done, is it a scenario where you mentioned that there's potentially a percentage of the tested population where the vaccines will not have been helpful with, but it's still at the end of the day, you're still going to reduce your infection rate 70, 80% or whatever percentage it does work on. Is there concern right now of any adverse effects of the current trials, or is it simply a matter of it's not 100% effective?
I think that you never get a vaccine which will work on 100% of people, but it will work on the vast majority of people. So the trials are done to sort of see whether there are adverse health effects of taking the vaccine. In fact, they have stopped a couple of the trials, because what happens is if somebody gets ill, then they immediately have to stop the trial and check that person didn't get sort of ill because of the vaccine. As soon as the green light is given that it wasn't anything to do with the vaccine, it could be anything. You can get ill for all sorts of reasons, and then the trial restarts. So, I mean, that should give us confidence that these things are done incredibly carefully, and the international community does have a strong track record of successfully producing vaccines. I think for polio, I mean, there've been other diseases where vaccines have been produced. I mean, everyone's familiar with the flu vaccine, and a lot of people have been taking a flu vaccine for many years. So I think a vaccine, if you can vaccinate your key healthcare workers, the people in the front line, you may want to vaccinate your vulnerable sort of elderly populations as well. It won't give you 100% immunity for everybody, but it will mean that the risk of that infection being spread, as it can spread without a vaccine, is reduced hugely. And then combined with testing, and I think there's a lot of exciting developments on testing happening in the UK as well. They are developing a very fast saliva test, and they are wanting to test the whole population of Liverpool over the next few weeks, and there's another with the saliva test, and it gives you very quick results within an hour. You need to be shown how to do it first, but then eventually you just do it yourself.
That's great.
There's another one being developed which is even more reliable than I think the one that will be used in Liverpool. So, people sometimes say to me, well, what's the way out of all of this? We've been living with this now since March. It's been a terrible year. We all want to forget 2020, but what's the way out? And I think the way out is going to be a vaccine at the point at which it is safe and reliable, and we can use it on those people that want to take it, combined with developments in testing, just to be able to get that risk down as much as possible. And that's certainly how the UK is approaching the sort of the exit strategy from this sort of pandemic that we're all living through.
Definitely a logistical nightmare. On that note, let's go to our 1:30 commercial break. When we come back, we invite our callers to call in. About 1:45, we'll be opening up our lines to have you have any questions for His Excellency the Governor. 1-800-534-8255. Be back with more talk today right after this.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
That thing we've been saying for 64 years? Ignore it. Eat the KFC wings, drink the KFC gravy, fill up on fries. Just please forget the thing we normally suggest. You know, that thing you used to do with your tongue after finishing a delicious piece of our KFC chicken. We get it. It's not easy. There's a reason why it's been our slogan for over half a century. But the world's drastically changed of late, and as soon as we can embrace the change, the sooner we can all get back to doing what we do best. KFC. It's good.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM from 7:30 to 9 a.m. for Cayman's new Straight Talk morning show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record. Brought to you by Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Did you know that between May and August 31st, in support of the COVID-19 Emergency Withdrawal Program, the Chamber Pension Plan leveraged IT and human resources to successfully review over 16,000 member applications, approve over 12,000 applications, and paid over CI $130 million to our plan members. We are the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, and we're here for you. For further information regarding the Emergency Withdrawal Program, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630.
Miracle Brokers International, your worldwide movers and freight forwarders, continues to work hard to improve their expertise to provide you with the first-class service you have come to expect. Now, together with Consolidated Freight Line, CFL, the specialist in logistical and global cargo solutions, customers can rely on an expanded team of moving professionals that gets the job done in a timely manner. Whether it's your prized possessions, full container loads, less than container loads, ro-ro cargo, or construction equipment, from door to port services, or across the oceans, from destinations such as the US, Canada, Asia, the Caribbean, Central and South America, among others. Miracle Brokers and CFL Combined Networks offers hundreds of expert connections that take the stress out of moving and shipping services. Call today for your free estimate, 949-5989. You can also log on to www.miraclebrokers.com. Miracle Brokers is located at the end of Kingbird Road, just past CUC. Miracle Brokers, the art of packing and moving, 949-5989.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and very pleased to have in studio His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper. Good afternoon again.
Hello.
Hello. In case you missed the first half of the segment, we've been discussing pretty much the COVID situation has dominated the conversation so far, and where we sit favorably, and how the European communities are currently struggling with their second wave of the virus, and the discussion surrounding vaccinations in regards to this, and where they are with the trials. Excuse me. One question I did have in regards to the vaccinations was, you mentioned Oxford University being a pivotal institution in this process right now. Are there other markets and other universities that the UK government is working with outside of the UK?
Yes, there are. I think the UK's approach has been to try and diversify supply from a range of different different productions. So I think there are at least 6 or 7 that I'm aware of that the UK. So as well as the ones that are produced in the UK, they will be sourcing vaccines from other suppliers. And there is a big push by the UK to try and support sort of equal access to vaccines across the world, because obviously the more wealthy countries may be able to buy up the supply, which means that less wealthy countries don't get it. So I think the UK's been at the forefront of efforts to try and have a process that allows all countries to get access to vaccines. And the vaccine is we're going to be talking a lot more about vaccine, I fear, in the sort of weeks and months to come. And I sort of recognise people don't want to take a vaccine, particularly early on. But I mean, I think we just have to think about the good we do for the broader community, because by each of us individually taking a vaccine, we are protecting everyone in our family, we're protecting everybody in our community, particularly the elderly and more vulnerable people. So I'm sure we're going to be talking about this quite a bit more in the coming weeks.
I think you're right. I mean, the COVID conversation has dominated 2020, and at the end of the day, when we're talking about how we get through COVID, we have to start talking some very real conversations, and this is one of them. For just sheer ignorance on my part, the vaccination is a injection.
It's
method?
an injection, yes. I think there might be two. You might need two, so you might have to have two injections about a week apart. Seems to be one of the ones that is most advanced.
And this might be more technical, but do you know what the vaccination is actually doing inside the body? Is it a scenario where they're injecting a small amount of something and your body's fighting back, like an antibiotic kind of thing?
I mean, that's the way that they normally work. It gives you the sort of antibodies to then fight off the virus if you were to become infected.
Okay. So that's the technical side, and again, we'll probably be venturing a lot more into this conversation in the coming weeks. Maybe changing the conversation to a little bit of a lighter note. Before the show, we were talking about 2-year anniversary, I believe.
Yes. No, well, it's gone incredibly fast, but no, I arrived on the 30th of October 2018. So yeah, it's just over 2 years. Wow. So it's been an incredible time, and I'm still really enjoying being here and spending time with the community. And I know I said when I arrived, it's a real privilege to be appointed governor by Her Majesty the Queen, and it does create a special bond between me as governor and all the people of these islands. And
absolutely.
I'll continue to do my utmost to support the best interests of Cayman. And I continue to be incredibly impressed by so many things about the Cayman Islands. I mean, there's so many things to be positive about, and if I can make a small contribution to that success as we move forward and helping the islands deal with this very difficult period that we're going through now, and I do recognise it's tough for a lot of people out there economically at the moment as we work out how we can move forward. But you take a step back, and it's a very safe place to live. It's a very beautiful place, and there are the community, the Cayman kind spirit, people looking after each other, the way we've dealt with COVID. You've got a world-beating financial services industry. When tourism comes back, there is also an absolutely high-quality, outstanding tourism product. And I think there's a lot of construction going on the island, so the local economy seems to be holding up pretty well given all the challenges, and that is a vote of confidence in Cayman's future that people are willing to invest, and there is construction happening across the island. So I'm from what I've seen in 2 years, very resilient people, very resilient islands, and I'm sure we'll bounce back in a very positive way as the rest of the world tries to bounce back from this incredible period.
So 2 years in, you've had the past 10 months, which has been I can't even call it a roller coaster, because there's never been like a really optimistic, really flying point. Even the most optimistic days are kind of very level-headed. But any major milestone highlights?
I mean, we had the royal visit, of course, which was end of March 2019, which is 18 months ago now. Can you believe that? That is quite extraordinary. So
you're messing with my mind right now.
But that was a real highlight for me as well, because I think that visit did do a lot to cement the links between the royal family and the islands, and to have the heir to the throne here, the Prince Charles and the Duchess were able to meet a lot of people. We managed to get them introduced to thousands of people, and I remember the St. Pedro Castle event in the evening, and there were about 4,000 or 5,000 people at that event, and it was a wonderful setting, really showing Cayman at its very, very best, and they really enjoyed the visit.
Good.
So yeah, a lot has happened. Leaving COVID aside, a lot has happened, and we could talk about all sorts of things. But just to say that I very much, both Lizzie and I are very much enjoying spending this time with all of you in the community, and I try to get out and about as much as possible and support what's happening in the community as much as I can, and we'll continue to do that.
I'm a little disappointed that you said the royal visit above your steel pan skills. I thought that would be number one, but fair enough. I can appreciate the position you're in.
You might call that a highlight. I might call it a low light. I mean, I have got four tunes now. Actually, we did do another one. So Stevie Wonder, I Just Called to Say I Love You, was I did that at the Lighthouse School a couple of weeks ago with Earl LePere. So I mean, the steel pan, I don't have a lot of time to spend on it, but it's a bit of fun. And I've learned about four little tunes. So it's nice to be able to do that from time to time. But I don't get enough time to practice, and Earl LePere gives me a hard time because I'm not a very good student apparently.
That's what makes him a great instructor. Is he gives his students a hard time, right?
Right.
He'll stay on you.
He must have some talent to find it in me.
So we got 4 songs. You having any performance for the holidays for?
I
want to throw you under the bus.
I'm not going to say too much, but there may be something connected to Christmas coming up in December. A very short thing. But there is something in the pipeline, but I won't say any more at this moment.
Now, the Pirates Week has now merged the National Song Competition into K-Fest.
Right.
Just putting that out there for you in case your agenda opens up. And
okay.
You get into practice. We can hopefully see you in the National Song Competition.
All right. Thank you for that.
But so 2 years we've had I'm trying to get at the lighter notes here because we've had such a heavy year.
We have.
The royal visit was a big one.
Yeah.
You made your rounds through the other islands, through Little Cayman
and
the Brac.
I've been to Brac a lot, and a bit less so to Little Cayman. But no, I've done a lot of visits to Cayman Brac, and again, the sister islands are an absolutely wonderful part of Cayman, and I think the government has done a really good job to support Brac, because it's really difficult to keep that going in as economically viable a way as possible. So, and the facilities there are incredible. The hospital, the new stadium, and the swimming pool, which is quite amazing as well. So I think the facilities on the Brac are very good, and wonderful place. It's nice to every now and again, a bit of R&R. I think the Brac and Little Cayman. If people want to escape from Grand Cayman, that's a great place to go.
Sometimes you need to escape from the big city and.
The big city, yes.
The big city. It's funny enough, the Brac held a swim meet a few weeks back.
Right.
And I heard it was extremely well attended, and many from Grand that had gone over. Yeah. Which I thought was just a fantastic tribute to the amount of effort that's been put into the sporting community in the Brac. We have a lot of Cayman Brac listeners who are listening right now. And one of the funny jokes that came about from that weekend and from the past few weeks of staycations that are taking place was how fast we drive when we go over there.
Oh, right, okay.
Was one of the comments that came from a local resident in the Brac was, we love it, they're here to visit, but they drive really fast. And you just kind of realize how much faster we move. Generally on a pace of life over here. We might be on a Caribbean island, but we do move at a very fast pace.
Right. Yeah. Well, I do wish that the driving is an area that does need attention. I think everybody needs to obey the rules, and we do have sadly too many accidents, and it's something that I know that we're looking at also as a sort of a security issue because of the impact it has on our security. So I know there's some work underway to look at a roads sort of safety strategy, and
that's great.
I know the government is working something up on that, because we need to do more in terms of public awareness and behavioural change.
That's what it comes down to, right? It's that behavioral change that needs to happen on the side of our consumers on the road. On that note, let's go to our next commercial break. Our phone lines are now open. If you have any questions or comments for His Excellency the Governor, please do give us a call, 1-800-534-8255. We will be back with more talk today right after this.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
CUC is going virtual. We have the same awesome team ready to provide you with excellent service.
We managed to implement technology right before the lockdown that allowed our reps to work from home and still deliver that exact same level of service.
Our priority will always be to provide our customers with the high quality of service to which you've grown accustomed. Visit our website at www.cuc-cayman.com or reach out to us at service@cuc.ky. We are here to serve you.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and very pleased to have in studio His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper, one celebrating 2 years in his post. Congratulations again. You made it 2 years, to a very challenging 2 years at that.
Indeed.
And our phone lines are now open. If you have any calls, please give us a call, 1-800-534-8255. We do have two callers on the line. We'll take our first caller now. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon, Your Excellency.
Hello there.
First, I would like publicly to say that you've done a great job in the terms of the coronavirus issue, and the government did a great job. But in this issue, we have a concern. Recently, we hear that there is a vaccine being brought to the island, and they're calling in people to volunteer to be tested. And I think this is something danger, that we are becoming a testing field. And I think a small island like this, we're not willing to be a testing field to any company. And I think this is very dangerous to the public health, very dangerous to the people who going to be tested in this vaccine. There is nothing approved to me or to anyone that this vaccine is reliable, is good or not. The second issue, Your Excellency, is another matter, which is, I think you remember I spoke to you when you come to the island about my issue, the discrimination I get by the government of this island. And the discrimination, even my daughter, she is 9 years old, which is, I am Muslim by faith. I am not the perfect Muslim in this world, but I try to be a good citizen in this country. I always been to this society. I always support the Caymanian people. I always stand with the Caymanian people. I always active. I speak in public matters, which I've been threatened by the immigration department many times. Why I speak in the radio, which I've been called to the immigration department 3 times and been warned and been threatened. And result of that, I been denied my status. I was married for 11 years. I have a child, and they deny my Cayman status based in a letter being written to me that I don't allow my daughter to go to church. How in the world I am a Muslim, and you ask me as Cayman status to force my daughter to go to church? Why that is so interesting in those corrupted politically Cayman status members, board members, to tell me if where I send my daughter to worship God Almighty. We all free to worship wherever we want, whatever religion we want. That's my belief.
Well,
okay, caller, we can let you go right there and have Lexi answer your 2 questions there. Thank you so much, caller.
Okay, thank you very much for those questions. I mean, first on the vaccine, I am aware there is a private sector sort of vaccine trial, a very small vaccine trial underway. It's not something that the government has been involved in, but it has been approved by our health commission. So it's a very small trial, and Cayman has been involved in similar things like this in the past, and it is entirely voluntary. And as far as I know, it doesn't involve in any way people being sort of infected with COVID. I think it's testing the very first part of the immune response. So I don't think there's anything at all for anybody to worry about over that development. I was very sorry to hear about your situation. I don't think that can be correct in terms of how you've set it out, and if you can write to my office and send me the details, I will look into that. I don't think that's all I can really say today on radio.
Okay, thank you so much, Excellency. Second caller. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling Talk today.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to Your Excellency.
Good afternoon to you too.
I just tuned in, and I have a little concern with I don't know, I haven't heard anything yet, so maybe y'all can shed some light, or let me know if you guys know anything about the amount of rain that we've been having. I was just wondering if NRA is out on the road trying to clear the whales, because I live in the Prospect area, and I noticed about 3 weeks ago, the guys came in one particular part of Patrick's Avenue. They blowed the well out, and 2 days later on, it was completely blocked off again. So I was just wondering if you all have any knowledge of the trucks being out trying to clear some of the water and clear some of the wells. It would be nice if you don't have any knowledge of that, or maybe you can look into it and find out why they're not out. And another little issue I'd like to bring to your attention. I notice a lot of times that the guys are out patching holes, okay? Now, I watch the guys doing things like this, and, when they're throwing the asphalt down inside of the holes, they don't even try to make an effort to clean whatever loose stuff that is in there. One particular part of bamboo, right? There's one area that as soon as you get a little rain, it got holes like you would not believe. And I watch the guys, they throw the asphalt right down on the stuff that is loose down in there. They don't even try to clean it out, and you would think that they would try to undermine the holes a little bit so when they put the stuff in it, that it would have something to grip onto. They just throws it in there, and right back now, I mean, there's like 50 different holes right in that same area. So my point is that they just need, supervision, somebody that knows about these things, that at least if we can get it to last about 3 or 4 months, not 2 weeks. I mean, to me, this makes totally no sense because it's eaten up a lot of, the time where they could probably be doing something as cleaning the vehicles or washing down the buildings or, doing something instead of having to, every time we get a little rain, the way they're doing things, having to go back and just repeat it. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense to me. Thank you very much for listening to me, and good afternoon, gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much. I think you seem to me to be making some very reasonable points. It's not something that I'm closely involved with or comes under sort of my responsibilities, but I do undertake to take those points away and feed them back into the individuals concerned. And we are going to get a lot of rain over the next 48 hours. That is certain. But thank you for those comments.
Thank you, caller, again. And I guess that feeds to that point you made earlier about some of the plans the government is undertaking with regards to road management. And if the wells are one of those issues, or the potholes themselves, the issues, as the caller mentioned, perhaps that's something for them to definitely consider.
Exactly.
One question which came in off air via WhatsApp, which we can address, is in regards to the new regiment.
Right.
And if you're able to shed some light on the importance of having the regiment bill brought through for 2020 and I guess offer a little bit of transparency for our listeners at home. Sure.
I mean, first of all, I was pleased that the regiment bill passed through the Legislative Assembly by consensus. I think that's an important signal that everybody supports and is behind that bill, and I think some changes were made in the Legislative Assembly to address some of the concerns that legislators quite rightly had, and I'm pleased that we were able to reach a consensus on that. The regiment has happened fast. I will acknowledge that, and I think that one of the reasons for that is that because of COVID-19, we actually had an opportunity which wouldn't have arisen in normal times, and that was because we needed the UK military to train our reservists, and because of COVID-19, because the UK military was sort of, to a large extent, confined to barracks and having to stay at base rather than being out and about, we were able to bring those teams in at very short notice. So to have that team to come here for a 2-week very intensive training program was perhaps not something that would have happened in normal times, not on that scale. So that was one reason why it was felt if we could move forward at that pace, then that would be wonderful progress to be able to do that so quickly. And of course, the hurricane season every year, being able to have a group of able-bodied men and women who could come to the assistance of the islands, and having that set up before the start or at the start of peak hurricane season this year was also another reason why it was felt if we could make rapid progress, then we should do that. And I just sort of repeat again that the UK has no political, security or economic objective in mind for this regiment. It is simply to give added resilience to the Cayman Islands and the region in responding to disasters and humanitarian issues like hurricanes. And I think to have that extra capability and have the skills that the military training provides is a fantastic asset for our islands to have, and it gives a great opportunity for Caymanians, a lot of them young Caymanians, to learn new skills, to learn about discipline and organisation. And I know, having spoken to many of the reservists, that they're so proud that they may be able to make a contribution to their country, and I believe that over time this regiment will really prove its worth.
Thank you so much for offering some clarity on the regiment bill. On that note, we do need to go to our 2 p.m. headline news. Again, we are joined in studio today with His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper. If you have any questions or comments, please give us a call, 1-800-534-8255. Be back with more talk today after our 2 p.m. headline news.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. While the UK is on lockdown, the Cayman Islands Government Office in the UK confirms that the British Airways flights to the Cayman Islands that are scheduled are expected to continue as planned because the UK's lockdown measures still permit essential international travel. In international news, the Trump campaign is contesting counts in the key states of Nevada, Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. The BBC projects Mr. Biden won Michigan. U.S. media forecast he took Wisconsin. No results has yet emerged in Pennsylvania. Winning all 3 of these states would hand Mr. Biden victory. The Democratic candidate is also currently leading in Nevada and Arizona, while the gap is closing between him and Mr. Trump as counting continues in Georgia. The U.S. recorded 102,831 new COVID-19 infections Wednesday, the first time since the start of the pandemic it has reported a 6-figure number. The United Nations has rebuked Israel for carrying out what is said was the biggest demolition of Palestinian homes in the occupied West Bank for a decade. Some 73 people, including 41 children, were made homeless when their dwellings were knocked down in the Jordan Valley, the UN said. The Israeli military said the structures had been built illegally. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you are just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And we again are very pleased to have in studio His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon.
It's my pleasure.
And stay dry in here at least.
That's true.
Better than being out there in the roads, right? Now we do have one caller on the line. And again, we do invite all of our callers. The number is 1-800-534-8255. Good afternoon, caller. Thanks for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the Governor.
Good afternoon.
I can't help but calling in regards to your last caller about a road. It is unbreakable and can't understand how is it that we can build so many roads and we are still using the same material to build our roads and it's not lasting. Just a simple little rain that comes down, there's a hole here and there, and they're not just a little hole, it's pretty deep, very deep. And then we got these companies like Water Authority and many more cutting the roads, not fixing it back properly. When you drive over it, you don't know what you're driving over, and then you have all of this noise from going into that piece that they just added there with their material, I guess, the alphas, and your car is just making a lot of noise and jingling up front. I mean, just messing up your front end. Our front ends on this island has to be worked on a yearly basis because of our roads. And I don't understand how the NRA and the government can keep building these roads and they don't have no year on them to last for. They eat up by the rain. They worn down by the driving on them. And all they're doing is just building up the roads with all of this unless something like a crusher run, and then comes out here and take this machine and put about 2 to 3 inches of this, alphas on it. And a couple of days later, it rains. There's a hole here and there, and your car drops into it, and you're the one that got to go and fix your car. NRA or the government will fix our vehicles to that extent or at that period. We have to fix it. We're the one living in the garage just trying to get our cars to last as long as possible. But our roads are matching up our vehicles on this Cayman Island. And I'm just hoping that the government could try to look into some other type of material to use on our roads because it is not working. And all these guys out here who's digging up, putting down, and digging up, putting down, they're just making the roads worse. I just want to hit on the regiment. I'm not too sure how it all works, but is this going to be a government expense? The government has to pay these guys to be here and try to teach our young people. Like you said a few minutes ago, some, whatever the word is, I can't say right now because I'm not into this regiment. I don't understand it, so I didn't want to hit on it. But I'm going to hit on it now because then people is asking me about it, and I tell them I know nothing about it. But since you were answering a question just now, I just want to know, is this a bill that government has to pay on a monthly basis to these guys to live here in the island, find accommodation for them, transportation? That's one question. Another thing, why is it that we really need those guys at this peak in time? Are the governors that are going to be governing our island or England that is we are under, are they seeing something that we, the people of this island, is not seeing? And if they are seeing something, are they going to talk to us, or are they just going to have these guys here, another expense on our government? It's okay if they're going to try to teach our young people something, that's fine and well. But who expense is it? And why do we need them at this particular time of the year? And all these years that we have been here by ourselves, running under England, we had the warships coming here on a regular basis. They very seldom come back to the island. They just time forgotten them. They don't come back to look for us no more hardly. So now we got a regiment here, and I want to know if that's going to be our government expense to maintain them while they're on our island.
Caller, we have to let you go there. Thank you so much for the question here. We'll let His Excellency answer the questions. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much for those points. Obviously, on the roads, it's not my area of responsibility, but I recognise that's a big concern for you, and we'll take that point away. I mean, on the regiment, in terms of costs, it's the UK has funded almost about £1 million worth of costs for the training, including sending some of the officers to Sandhurst in the UK, which is the one of, if not the best military training establishment in the world. The UK has also provided for the costs of the training that took place in Cayman, and the UK has provided all the uniforms and a lot of equipment. So a big investment by the UK. The regiment has about 7 full-time officers, but all the other people in the regiment are part-time reservists, so they're only they have to come in and train from time to time, but they're not embodied as a regiment. They're not formed unless there is a crisis in which we would need to use their skills and capacity. So they're only paid for the times when they have to come in and do training or when they're embodied. So they're not paid on a sort of a monthly basis, apart from the full-time officers. So the Cayman Islands government will be picking up those costs, but the UK has put in a big investment, and not just for Cayman. The Turks and Caicos is also developing a regiment, and this is simply about disaster management, being able to support ourselves at a time of hurricanes or other natural disasters, and being able to support the region. People often tell me today just how valuable the Bermuda Regiment was after Ivan, and what the Bermuda Regiment was able to do in Cayman to support. So for Cayman to have those skills, that capacity, that capability, just gives us extra resilience. And this isn't a region of the world which does get extreme weather, and because of climate change, if anything, the situation is getting more challenging as the years pass by. So I believe it's really important to have this resilience. But it is Cayman's regiment. I've said this from the beginning, and I say it again. The UK is simply acting as a facilitator with some technical support, and in terms of how the regiment develops from here, that's very much for Cayman to decide. And we're not bringing people in from overseas to be part of this regiment. This regiment is either some of the officers, because they had the skills, were permanent residents. But the majority of people in the regiment are Caymanians. 85% of the people in the regiment are Caymanians, and it's Cayman's regiment, and it's up to the government of the day how this regiment develops in the future, working in partnership with me as the governor, because defence is a responsibility of the governor under the Constitution.
Thank you so much. And just to clarify, how many individuals are involved in the regiment?
So we have the three sort of senior officers, and then we have I think we've got the 5 junior officers, and we've got 2 more currently at Sandhurst doing their training. So that's about 10 on the sort of the full-time staff. We did the first recruitment of reservists, so the first 50. Which were trained by a UK team a couple of months ago. The second recruitment has finished, so we've already got the next sort of 50 cohort. So we will need to train those 50 people in the future, and the aim is to try and get to about 175 by the time of the next hurricane season, so next August, September. Okay. But the 165 of those will be part-time reservists, so only called when needed to do so. Apart from the training, which obviously you have to do and make sure that everyone has the skills that they need.
A completely side question, but we had the hazard management team on yesterday talking about the community emergency response teams for hurricanes. Yeah. Would the regiment be closely affiliated with those CERT teams?
I think they do a slightly different thing, but they're part of the regiment. Would be a part of our response, and everyone has to work together, and different units bring different skills. So you can imagine the regiment being able to do a lot of very physical heavy lifting, for example. Exactly. Or if there are sort of casualties and people need to be evacuated, they're trained in sort of the first aid and the way to do that. If the police need particular help in a sort of a post-hurricane situation, maybe we've got some sort of looting which can happen in some of these situations. So it just gives you an extra capability. And under the law, the regiment in a time of crisis is required to turn out and perform their roles. I think one of the problems in Ivan was that many people in the police didn't turn up for duty, and a lot of them were not Caymanians and were work permit holders, and I think many people just left. So that obviously depleted our capacity to respond, but that can't happen with the regiment because the law requires them, if they sign up, the law requires them to respond to a request to come to the aid of the island. So it really does give you something which we haven't had before on the islands in terms of our response. We hope we never need it, but but it's there if we do need it.
It's the insurance policy.
It's the insurance policy, absolutely. And I would just say as well, on the skills that are being taught are fabulous sort of life skills that are so valuable to us as individuals, but also as a lot of the people in the regiment, the reservists, are in the private sector, and when they go back to those companies, they're taking those skills back to those companies. And private sector, I know from the UK, find that really valuable, that the new skills that their people are learning and bringing that back and sharing those skills with other colleagues. So it's a win-win all round. It's a win for Cayman, and it's a win for the region. And Cayman's contribution to the region is one of the things that I think the islands can be so proud of, the way you've come to the aid of others in the region. We sent the helicopter to Bahamas, you've sent aid to various countries, we've sent medical teams and personnel.
Of course, yes.
A regiment also would be able to come to the aid of another overseas territory or an independent country in the Caribbean if the Premier and the Governor agree that that's something we should do. So I do believe this is a real win-win all round, and I think it's fantastic that UK has been able to step up in the way that they have and provide this technical assistance at pace.
Thank you so much for that. On that note, let's go to our next commercial break. When we come back, we have 2 more callers on the line, and we will be closing off our phone lines after those 2 callers. Be back with more talk today right after this.
And give them your TRN. Go on use at the ATM. Or swipe instead then. And when you need more cash, and make your family send it in a flash. From abroad to card, get the JN Money Card. It's safe, convenient, and free. JN Money Card only available and used in Jamaica. Call 345-945-2014 for details.
Remembrance Day weekend is coming up, and on Friday's CI Retro Talk Today special presentation, the focus will be on Caymanians' participation and dedication in defense of freedom and democracy. Hear from some of those who lived it and who lived to tell about it later. And a memoriam to those who made the supreme sacrifice, gave their lives for freedom and democracy. That's Friday, 12:15 on Radio Cayman. The program will also be repeated on Sunday at 3 p.m. on Radio Cayman. CI Retro Talk Today special presentation brought to you by the Ministry of Culture. Cayman Islands culture. Love it, be proud of it, wear it.
As the community continues to take precautions from COVID-19, it is important to stay prepared for other disasters now that we're in the hurricane season. Here are some post-hurricane safety tips from the Department of Environmental Health. Always separate debris from household garbage after a hurricane. Debris includes roofing materials, tree branches, and metals. All items of debris must be placed in separate piles and must not cause obstruction to roadways or come in contact with electrical lines. For full guidance on post-hurricane safety tips, visit www.deh.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex. Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you are just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and very pleased to have in studio His Excellency the Governor here. And we do have 2 more callers on the line. However, we will be closing off our phone lines after those 2 callers. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Singh.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so very much, Your Excellency, for coming on to the radio station and the courage to come on and sitting in the hot seat, so to say, and taking calls. I just want to say thank you very much for this, the regiment, implementing that, getting that going. It's long overdue. There are quite a few of us, old-timers, I guess you want to call us, and not so old-timers also, who are often saying this. It's long overdue, and there's lots of things, just as you said, there's lots of things for these young people to learn, being in the military in these days and even before. But you're learning a lot of things. Mechanical, electrical, electronics now, and so to speak, and other things, and the discipline that it imparts to our people, and we need that now as we see what has transpired over the last several years. The young people, I think it's so very well needed, necessary, and a minuscule amount of money. Let's not go overboard and thinking it's some big money. It's not. It's well worth it, and especially at a time like this when we're honoring that it comes into force, or when we're honoring our past veterans who served so well, and many gave their lives, and we know our commitment in the First and Second World War. Our conscription rate was very high, possibly the highest in the world, and we should be proud of this. We should be very proud of it going on. As to the gentleman with a problem with his Muslim ideology or whatever, we're basically a majority Christian country. So if you come here and decide to settle here and even have children here, and realize there will always be that little bit of sort of conflict. If you want your child brought up in a Muslim school, then I guess you'll have to send them abroad to a Muslim school or whatever. There's freedom of religion. You can attend it, and there's nothing wrong with sitting and listening to Christian prayers or hymns or whatever. And I don't see where that should become a major problem for any one person or so forth. You learn to live with things. And you have been asked many questions that really aren't your forte. Those questions must be asked of our elected representatives or members of the civil service in different branches and things like that. But I just thank you so very much, Your Excellency, for coming on and talking plainly to the people. And about the regiment, I couldn't compliment you anymore and thank you anymore for that. And it's long overdue, and we'll get you straight, and we'll learn to accept it and be thankful for it. Thank you very much, sir. Have a wonderful day.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate those comments, and always good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for calling in. Unfortunately, our last caller did hang up, so we do have space for one more caller. If you do want to call in, the number is 1-800-534-8255. And if I can echo the comments from our last caller, you've been very generous with your responses today and fielded a few queries that definitely fall outside of your purview, but it speaks volumes to how serious you have taken your role. Not that every other previous governor has not done the same, but that you've offered that opportunity to really field the queries and the questions, covering everything from Europe to potholes in one conversation. You've covered a diversity of topics and U.S. elections. Let's not forget we've even dabbled into the U.S. elections a bit. But you've been very generous. We've covered a lot of territory today. Given that we're now 2 years into your tenure, any vacations planned for you this year?
Well, it's a good question. I'd love to see my children, of course, because of COVID. Sure. I haven't seen them. I saw them at last Christmas, but of course it's been very difficult this year. So and with the UK developments and British Airways, we're not quite sure what's happening at the moment in December. So we did have a lovely break in the BRAC. We had a long weekend.
How good for you?
It was Lizzie and I spent a long weekend there, right down on the sort of south coast, almost at the very end. And I did a lot of cycling around, and it's wonderful because you can just cycle. I cycled from the house all the way to the lighthouse, and I got to the lighthouse and there was absolutely nobody there. It was amazing. So it's idyllic, it's peaceful, it's a different world, but a wonderful place. So that's been my only sort of holiday this year so far, but we'll obviously, I think everyone is in the same position, and we just I think have to look forward with optimism and confidence to 2021, and things will get better, and we will get through this. I think I'm just thankful that here in the islands we've been able to deal with this in a very effective way, and that's because of leadership from the Premier and so many people in the Cayman Islands government, in the civil service, but in our healthcare people, our law enforcement agencies. I mean, it's been a Team Cayman performance which has been really impressive for me as governor to see, and I'm hugely grateful to everyone.
Absolutely. Any rock climbing or diving while you're over in the
No rock climbing or diving. Lots of walking.
Yeah,
I can snorkel, but I'm not really a big diver. Although lots of people try to encourage me to take up diving, and I wish I had when I was younger, really. Sure. But I loved snorkeling. Okay. I did snorkel off Bloody Bay in Little Cayman, and that was when I saw my first sort of turtle beneath me in the sea, which was a wonderful experience. And then I went off to where the the sort of, it gets very deep.
Very deep.
And that's quite an incredible experience when you've got everything below you that you can see, and then you suddenly, it's black and
It's
dark beneath you, which with the
Yeah.
wall, which was also quite extraordinary.
Very daunting. Now we do have our final caller.
Final caller, okay.
Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Vera.
Hi, Miss Vera.
I'm always calling in. I just want to say and make everyone hear that we are blessed to be in the Cayman Islands. And I just want to congratulate our government for doing what they have done. And let me tell you, I had to go away on an emergency, and when I came back, I had to be quarantined for 16 days. And believe you me, the treatment that I got was so good. It was number one. And next thing, I would not want Cayman to move out and get independent and move out from under England, because you know what? They have some people that jealous what's happening in Cayman, how Cayman is so thriving, and they would want to put us down to the ground. But England is there to protect us, so do not come out from underneath the English government.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for that feedback on your experience of the sort of isolation team. I will pass that back to the Deputy Governor so he can pass it on to his team. It's really, really nice when people provide that feedback to us, and I appreciate you ringing in on that point. Thank you,
caller. Thank you so much for calling in. Your Excellency, last minute, any final thoughts?
The time has gone very fast. We've spent an hour and a half together, answered a number of calls, and I'm just always happy to sort of take calls, and I know that I respect the Constitution very much in terms of what I'm responsible for and the domestic autonomy, but I'm always happy to receive comments and views about anything, and I will always feed comments back to others, and I'll take away the points that have been raised today. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You've been very generous again with your time and your responses today. On that note, we do need to call it a wrap for today's show. Thank you again to all of our loyal listeners out there in Radio Cayman Nation, to Miss Susan Watson and all of our callers, and of course, His Excellency the Governor. It has been a pleasure bringing you Talk Today, and on behalf of the entire Radio Cayman family, thank you for sharing your afternoon with us. I'm Raymond Singh. God bless, and have a safe, dry rest of your Thursday.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Voice of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
Shining down from above. We love our listeners.
Radio Cayman